Hi, everyone, and welcome to Publishers on Air. My name is Gigi Grimes, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Google. Today, we're going to walk through Real-Time Content Insights 2.0 and our news tagging guide. Real-Time Content Insights, or RCI, is a free tool designed to help publishers just like you use real-time data to make content creation and distribution decisions. By helping you understand what content is resonating with your users, RCI is able to help you determine which content you should be prioritizing and which content you should be promoting. The tool is completely free to use and only requires that you have Google Analytics. The free or paid version can be enabled. Some of you might already be familiar with Real-Time Content Insights, but we're very happy to announce our new and improved 2.0 version, which is packed with new features that were informed by hours and hours of work directly with publishers like you. News Tagging Guide, or NTG, is a new tool designed to help publishers make the most of Google Analytics by defining the engagement metrics that matter for audience and revenue growth. The tool further supports additional insights for both RCI and our other tool, NCI. Before we jump into the training, I want to cover a few things about this session. First, our speakers, Munish and Nicole, will walk through NTG and RCI interfaces to show you how each new component works. You can ask a question at any point throughout the training by clicking that blue Ask a Question button to submit your question. You might not see it pop up right away, but we're reviewing them and we'll address as many questions as possible at the end of the training. Now, let's introduce our speakers. Nicole, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Rocchio, and I am a partner manager on our news team, as well as sitting on both the NCI and RCI team. I may look a bit familiar for those of you who tuned in to our NCI live stream a few weeks ago. I'm really excited to talk through the NTG tool, how to use it, and the metrics that can be measured with you today. And now I will pass it off to Munish to introduce himself and get us started.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. My name is Taneja, and I'm a partnerships lead for NCI and RCI. I'm super excited to be here with all of you today and to take you through a demo of all of our tools. But before we jump in, I wanted to provide you with a quick overview on our team and what we're really focused on. If you joined our last session on NCI, you probably already know that we're a team focused on driving user engagement and activation by leveraging data insights. Now, we mostly do this by taking advantage of three tools that our team has created. The first is News Tagging Guide, or NTG. And this is essentially used to help you determine what you should be tracking in Google Analytics. And Nicole's going to be taking us through that in a few moments. The second is NCI, or News Consumer Insights. And this was a tool we went through in the last session, and it's really focused on helping you take your historic data and providing you with tactical recommendations to drive user engagement and develop reader revenue. And the last is Real-Time Content Insights. And this is where we take real-time data to help you make content creation and distribution decisions. Now, all of these tools are available on goo.gle/data tools. And I invite all of you to take a look at them as we're actually going through the demo so you can follow along and get some firsthand experience. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Nicole to take us through News Tagging Guide.
Thanks, Munish. All right, to get started here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what our News Tagging Guide offers. So essentially, our News Tagging Guide is a new tool that we have designed on our team to help publishers make the most of your Google Analytics by defining those engagement metrics that matter both for audience and revenue growth. The tool that we have allows you to, one, easily identify the most important audience engagement metrics to measure, two, simplify technical implementation as NTG generates the required tags, and three, unlock new audience insights within your Google Analytics account. In close collaboration with those news publishers, we've really tried to identify the right engagement metrics to measure. So within the tool, there are going to be segments into three categories, which I will show you in one moment: the video analytics, user engagement, and reader revenue. All right, I'm going to show you now, going to click into our Try It Now News Tagging Guide, and what it populates is here. It'll bring you to this page, and what you want to do when you're on this page is that we'll scroll down, and I'm going to kind of walk through the implementation and how you can go about it. We'll choose your implementation here. And so you can choose any of these that you would like. Once you select one of those, you will then put in your unique identifier code, whatever that may be. And then as we scroll down, we're back to those 3 engagement metrics that I was speaking about. And so to start, video analytics, our publishers are able to then measure how audience are consuming videos on their site, from actions like click to play, viewing milestones like completion. And I'll also click into this video in one moment to talk more about the metrics that we can measure. The second one, user engagement. Publishers are going to measure new engagement metrics on their site with their marketing channels. So examples include scrolling and social sharing, as well as newsletter signups and registrations. And then the last one, reader revenue. Publishers with reader revenue models, if that is you, such as subscriptions or membership models, are able to measure events to better identify readers who have subscribed or contributed to their site. Looking at this video analytics, once you click in and you sync all of your data, what it will do, and I'm just going to put in a random code, you'll select this here, and then what it will actually bring you to on this page are the different video players that we do have available with our NTG tag. And then you'll be able to actually click here to say, click our live demo site. And what it will open up into will be that video page. As you work through this video page, the complete list of events that are measured are initial click to play, autoplay, pause, resume, video milestones such as 25%, 50%, 75%, video complete, seek, full screen, mute, unmute, and player loaded. I know that that's a lot. And so when you engage with this video, a list of those actions will compile here on the right-hand side. And then once you're actually able to go through all of those, you'll click your next button. And what that will actually bring us to is going to be a different graph here that will show you a list of those insights as well. Then you'll be able to look through this, review with your team, and see how you want to move forward with those video metrics insights. Going back to our page here, we also are able to look at user engagement and reader revenue. If we were to click on one of these, it would then bring you down to the bottom here, and it would give you all of these different options here at the top, such as scroll depth, social sharing, login. And then when you click onto one of these, you can choose which behavioral action you're looking for, and we'll be able to provide a piece of code for you to then implement on your page. If you were to scroll back up to the top, the last one I want to review is reader revenue. Same thing here. If you click down on this, you'll be able to look at subscription or membership and contributions. And then you'll again be able to select one of your behavioral actions, copy that code, and put that on your page. If you have any questions about the code, how to implement, what's available, we also, all the way down at the bottom, will have a PDF right here for you to download, which is a playbook that talks about everything that we're able to do with the news tagging guide. I have covered all 3 of those metrics now, and so I will pass it off to Munish to now review our new 2.0 version of our RCI tool.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Nicole. So I'm going to take all of you through RCI. So as I said before, RCI is focused on helping you make content creation and distribution decisions. And we really do this in 3 key ways. So the first thing that we do is really help you understand what is trending on your page right now. So if you look at the menu in the very left here, you'll see that there's 2 sections, real-time article performance and real-time video performance, that really just focus on just that. So which of your articles right now are trending in this moment, and which of your videos are trending in this moment? And we'll get into some of these details in a few moments. The second thing that we look at is which of your content pieces are actually driving the most engagement. And we look at that in historic performance. And then the third thing we look at is what is trending across the web right now. And we look at that in trends in your region. So we're going to go through each of these sections in more detail. But before we do that, a couple of things I wanted to point out. So you'll see at the very top here, we have a Google Analytics dropdown. So if you're logged into an account associated with your Google Analytics account, you just select it here, and the tool will populate with your data. Now, for the purposes of this demo, we're going to be using demo data, so we're not going to actually use actual data in here. But when you do put your account in, you'll also will see this button up here light up. And this button is the auto refresh button. So it's off by default, but if you were to click it, it'll refresh all of the data in here every 180 seconds or every 3 minutes, just to ensure that the data is fresh in here. All right, so in the first section within real-time article performance, we start with showing you this visual breakdown of all of your articles that are currently trending. And by trending, what I mean is we're looking at how many real-time readers are associated with that individual article and how many views that article had in the last 30 minutes. Now, looking at this view, it is limited to your top 5, but you can click this button down here, the Launch Newsroom view, and this will take you into a full screen. And the reason why we created this is because we wanted to give newsrooms and editorial staff the opportunity to be on the same page when it comes to what is trending across their publication. Now, what you'll notice is there's 10 articles up here that are currently trending. So these are your top 10. And then you'll see 3 icons right below the 2 metrics we were talking about earlier. So the first tells you or indicates if this article is driving more loyal readers, so returning readers, as indicated by the L, or casual readers, as you can see by the C here, so first-time readers. And the second thing we look at is recirculation. So if this icon is green, we're indicating that this article is driving more recirculation than the average of your site. And if it's red, it's driving less recirculation than the average of your site. And then we look at page speed. So if this icon is green, it basically indicates that the page speed is better for this individual article in comparison to the average of your site. Or if it's red, it is worse than the average for the overall site. And we'll get into details as to why this is important and how you may want to address this. Now, if you scroll further down, you will see a complete view or a complete list view of all of the articles that are currently trending on your site. So this is not just limited to the top 10. This is pretty much everything that is being consumed. Now, what you'll notice is we're basically showing you the same metrics. So you see the real-time readers, the page views for the last 30 minutes, a breakdown of casual versus loyal readers, recirculation, and page speed. What I invite you to do at this point is really look out for patterns. Right? See if there's anything that consistently is coming up. So you may notice that across your publication, you're seeing a lot more casual readers versus loyal readers. Now think about if this aligns with your strategy. Are you looking to drive more casual readers? Or are you looking to drive more loyal readers? And if it doesn't align with your strategy, what changes can you make to your actual articles or to your content to ensure that you're moving in the right direction? The same thing goes for recirculation. Right? So in this demo data here, you may notice that a lot of the top articles right now are doing worse than the average of the site. So this may indicate that there's something that you need to actually adjust. Maybe there's something wrong with the recirculation widget, for example. So there's certain things that you may want to prioritize and adjust here to determine why you're not doing as well with recirculation. And the same thing goes for page speed. You may notice that your top article here is doing really, really well, but it's actually not performing very well for page speed in comparison to the site average. So there might be an opportunity here to look at, for example, your images, right? Make sure that all of your images are compressed and they're optimized as much as possible. So that way this article here specifically can do even better. And potentially maybe you look to even promote it aggressively because you have improved upon all of the metrics. Now with each of these, you can actually dive into the specific article and you'll be presented with more information. So what you'll see here is where users are actually coming from in real time. So we can filter that actually out by country, region, and city. And then we can see where users are coming in by referral sources. And then below, we pretty much provide you with a visual breakdown of all the icons you saw earlier. So a breakdown of casual versus loyal, the recirculation, and then the page speed. And then in addition to that, we're showing you a breakdown of device type. So mobile versus desktop over here. And then if you have NTG implemented, we will also show you your scroll depth. So the average scroll depth associated with this article, and then the individual milestones associated with this article as well. Now, what you may notice is that there are green and red icons associated with a few of these. And that is, again, because we are comparing this to your site average. We're helping you determine if these individual metrics are doing better or worse than the site average. So it'd probably be really, really helpful to be able to actually see how your site is doing as a whole to make easy comparisons. And you actually can do that by clicking the top right over here. By doing that, you'll basically will see everything that's happening across your site. So we'll show you how many real-time readers are currently on the page. and then a breakdown of how you're actually pacing for the day in comparison to your site average. So at this point, you may look and see that you're pacing behind potentially where you typically would be in the day. So maybe that is an opportunity to release more content to really kind of get in more in line with where you should be pacing for the day at this point. Or this might be an opportunity to slow down on your content if you're pacing way too far ahead. The other thing we show you here is where users are coming from for your site. So you can see a breakdown of geo for the entire site. And again, we filter this by country, region, and city. A breakdown of referral sources. And then a breakdown of all the other metrics we were looking at before. So casual versus loyal, mobile versus desktop, recirculation, page speed, and scroll depth. Awesome. With that, I'm going to jump into real-time video performance. Now, what you'll notice is that this page looks very, very similar to the previous page. So we're showing you a similar breakdown of all the videos that are currently trending on your site. So videos that are specifically being consumed in this moment. And then we'll show you the real-time viewers. So how many viewers are actually watching this individual video at this point? And then we focus in on video-specific metrics. So we'll look at the completion rate. So the percentage of users that actually completed a video once they started. The unmute rate, so the number of users that actually unmuted, or the percentage of users that unmuted once they'd started, and the full screen rate, so the percentage of users that clicked the full screen button once they actually started the video. In this case here, again, I would invite you to do the same thing that you did in the previous page, right? So look out for patterns. Understand if it makes sense that a lot of your current users or users that are consuming this video content are starting to become more casual readers. Does that make sense? Right? Is that aligned with your strategy? And if not, if you're looking to have more loyal viewers, understand how you could potentially replicate this content, or understand what about this content is specifically resonating with your viewers. And the same goes for all the other metrics. If you notice that a specific video is doing really, really well across the board for your engagement metrics, like this one at the very top, understand why. What about this video is resonating, and how can you potentially replicate this video? Now, if you jump in, we'll provide you with very, very similar details to the previous page. So we'll show you where people are coming from by geo, and again, a breakdown of country, region, and city, and where they're coming from by referral source. And then in addition to that, we'll show you a visual breakdown of the other metrics we're showing you. So the casual versus loyal, and then the actual rates associated with your unmute rate, the full screen rate, and the completion rate, and all of the milestones associated with every milestone for the video itself, and then a breakdown of the actual device types. Now, one thing I want to note here is for everything that is being presented in real-time video performance, you do require to have NTG implemented. So NTG for video has to be in place to see any of these metrics. If it is not, you basically will just see an error message indicating how to implement NTG for video. So it's something to keep in mind, and it's extremely important. Now on the right, we will show you a complete breakdown of how your site is doing, especially for video. So you'll see at the very top here, the number of real-time viewers, and again, how you're pacing for the day. And this is, again, specific to video consumption. And then you'll see where people are coming from and the referral sources, and then a breakdown of all of the same metrics. Now, in looking at this, you can see it's pretty easy to make quick comparisons between what is happening with this individual video and what is happening across the site. So for example, I can see with this video here, the unmute rate is sitting at about 20% in comparison to my site at 18%. And the same thing goes for the full screen rate. We're looking at this for 4%, and looking in comparison to the site at 3%. So this makes it really easy for you to make quick comparisons and really understand how this individual video or this article in the previous page is actually doing. All right, with that, I'm going to jump into historic performance, which is the next big section. So as I said earlier, what we really want to try to do is help you understand which of your articles and which of your videos are truly driving engagement. And we want to do that by helping you look past just page views and just video views. So we do this by taking your top 100 articles and your top 50 videos by a specific time period. So by default, we're looking at the last 30 days, but you can modify this time period. And in looking at that, what we're trying to pull in is all of the metrics associated with engagement. So by default, we'll pull in your page views because that is definitely important, but it should not be the only metric you're looking at. We'll pull in your loyal readers associated with that article and your recirculation. And then in addition to that, if you have NTG implemented, we also will pull in your newsletter sign-up rate, your social share rate, your comment rate, and your affiliate click rate. So we'll look at all of these metrics combined to provide you with something called a content engagement rank. And so what you'll see is that we're comparing your content engagement rank to your page view rank. So essentially showing you how this individual article is doing in terms of content engagement. And when we're looking at these individual metrics, you'll notice that all of these metrics are either green or red. So what we're actually doing is comparing these metrics to your site average to help you determine how this individual article is actually doing. So to provide you with an example, if you were to scroll through this, you'll notice that a lot of the content engagement rank numbers and the page view rank numbers are pretty similar as you're going down. And then you'll get to this article here, which has a content engagement rank of 6, but a page view rank of 15. So clearly there's something happening here, right? So the page view rank is a little lower, but there's clearly something happening here with content engagement. So if you click into it, you'll notice that the page views associated with this are below the average. So it's sitting at about 43,000 in comparison to the 123,000 for the site. But if you look at all of the other metrics, they're doing extremely well. So for example, if you look at the social share rate, it's sitting at about 4% in comparison to 2%. Or if you look at the affiliate click rate, sitting at about 10% in comparison to 8%. So clearly this article is doing really, really well when it comes to engagement. And this is an opportunity to potentially promote this article a little more aggressively if it is pushing engagement in the right direction for you, and if there's specific metrics here that align with your goals for the year perhaps. Now, the opposite may be true as well, right? So if you notice that an individual article is pretty high on the page view rank, so number 7 here in this example, but a lot lower in the content engagement ranking, there could be something here within the metrics that is actually pushing the engagement score down. So something to consider, right? Because an article may be higher in page view doesn't necessarily mean that there's a ton of engagement occurring. Now, if you scroll down, you'll notice that we show you very, very similar information for video, but we're pulling in video specific metrics. So if you were to jump in this first video, for example, we look at the video view rank of 14, but you see that the content engagement rank is number 1. So clearly something's happening here. There's something very important that's happening across engagement. So if you jump in, you'll notice that the video starts are sitting at about 53K. So it is doing pretty well when it comes to video starts. But then if you also look at the engagement metrics, the unmute rate, for example, sitting at 23% in comparison to 5 for the site average, or the full screen rate at 26% comparison to 10, this video is clearly doing well. It's clearly resonating with your viewers. So this is an opportunity, again, to promote this specific video because there is something specific that's happening here that's driving engagement overall. Now, if there are specific metrics that are especially important for you, if there's certain goals that you potentially have for the year, such as affiliate click rates or driving more newsletter signups, this is a great opportunity for you to determine which individual articles or which individual videos are driving towards that goal. So if you were to look at this table, you'll see all of the metrics that we're looking at, and then you can click into a specific metric. So newsletter signup rate, for example. If you click into it, we'll show you the top 5 articles associated with that metric for you to determine which of your articles are actually driving towards that goal. So again, an opportunity for you to figure out which articles are aligning with your goals for the year potentially. And the same thing goes for video. If you wanted to see which of your videos were driving the most completions, for example, you could click into this and you would see the top 5 videos associated with your video completion rate. Now, you may have noticed that there is a filter at the very top here where you can actually filter by author and filter by category. So if you have custom dimensions set up in Google Analytics for author and category, you can actually just click into the settings here and then input your index number associated with author and category, click save, and then we'll populate all of that information into these filters. And this gives you the opportunity just to filter this content by author and category. Awesome. With that, I'm going to go into the last section here, where we're essentially showing you trends that are occurring in your major market. So, and by major market, what I mean is where you're seeing the most traffic. So that's where we'll default. You can modify the country dropdown here if you want to see other countries and see other search trends in those countries. But essentially what we're showing you is what do search trends look like in your major market? What are people searching for right now in real time at this point? And then right below that, we show you your top articles. So which of your articles are trending, similar to what we showed you in the previous screen. And the goal here is to help you understand if there are any gaps. So for example, you may notice that there are a number of people that are potentially searching for Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. So during the documentary that came out, we pulled this dummy data here, and we were able to put this in place. And so if you have sports content that you're consistently producing, and you notice that a lot of people are searching for Michael Jordan, and you don't have that content trending here, this is a perfect opportunity for you to potentially produce that content and ensure that your users are consuming that content, because clearly it's important and people are searching for that across the web. Now below, we show you a breakdown of what people are watching on YouTube. So these are all the videos that are currently being consumed across YouTube specifically for news. And then below that, we show you which of your videos are currently trending on your site. And again, this is an opportunity for you to determine if there's a gap in your content versus what is trending. And then finally, we have a little section up here for trending topics. So within this section, we will populate topics that have an impact or global impact. And if you click into it, what you'll see is a breakdown of interest over time. And this interest over time can be modified by a specific period of time. So you can modify that up here. And then below, we will show you related topics and related queries associated with that topic. And you can change this from top to rising, so you can see what people are actually searching for again in this very moment. And this gives you another opportunity for you to create content to address either questions or topics that users are looking for specifically. Now, all of the stuff that I've just gone through in this demo can be found in the documentation guide. So you can click into here and you'll see a complete breakdown of how to use a tool and frequently asked questions that we generally see across the board. And with that concludes the demo of the tool. So I'll pass it over to Gigi to touch on any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Munish and Nicole, for all of that great content. We'll start taking some questions from the audience. I know a few of you have submitted. If you do have a question and haven't submitted yet, go ahead and just click that blue Ask a Question button, and we'll try to get to it. So I'll leave it to you, Munish and Nicole.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Gigi. All right, we'll get started here with our first question from the audience. So to begin, Munish, can we use RCI without implementing NTG?
Absolutely, you definitely can. NTG is extremely valuable to provide us with more data and to provide yourself and RCI with more data, but RCI definitely can be used without NTG. Just keep in mind that you would be limited where we would not pull in video content and we would not pull in those additional metrics that I showed you in historic performance, as well as scroll depth, but you can definitely use it without implementing NTG.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, moving on to the second question. To start RCI, do we just sign up into our Google Analytics account and go live? Does it affect our GA account in any way?
So to start up RCI, all you have to do is go to that link I showed you earlier, which was goo.gle/data tools, or you can just go to the Google News Initiative page and look for data tools and you'll find RCI. And all you need to do is select your account. So as long as you're logged into an account that's associated with your Google Analytics account, it will provide you with all of the, it will provide you with the account and it will populate RCI with your data. This will not have an impact on your Google account in any way at all.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying. Our third question from the audience: can the codes be put on the entire site to cover all pages and posts?
Yes, absolutely. So the code for NTG can be put on all of your pages in order to be able to pull in all of those engagement metrics. Absolutely. Great.
Our fourth question: does RCI define internal traffic, or does it get noted as direct?
So for referral sources, we break it out just like it is broken out in Google Analytics. So it will pull in the traffic information just as you would in Google Analytics in the exact same way. So there would be no difference there. And hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that does. If not, then you can always reach out to us with additional follow-ups. Our next question from the audience: what is recirculation?
That is a great question. So recirculation is basically when you go to a site and you consume content, and then you're presented or recommended with additional content. that potentially you should be consuming because you've read a certain article and there's related information. So that's what a recirculation widget really looks like. So when we're looking for recirculation, we're looking for when users actually click into that additional content so they continue to engage with your site versus users that just exit out of the site completely and no longer continue to consume content.
Awesome. Good description. Next question.
Thanks.
What impact would this tool have on AdSense / YouTube, etc., for revenue?
So I think that's actually another really good question. I mean, personally, I think understanding what is driving engagement across your user base and what's really working for content is going to just help drive revenue, right? I think that's what this all comes down to, is understanding what is really going to help engagement overall, and understanding what your users actually interact with and what really resonates with them. So I think that's just going to have a positive impact overall. It's not necessarily a direct impact, so that's not what this tool is used for, but it's really just to help you understand your users in a better way. Nicole, I don't know if there's anything to add to that, but that would be my thought on there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you covered it really well, Munish, but I would say that it's absolutely using these tools to make sure that you're continuing to create content your users are on your page for, and kind of going with whatever strength that you have as a site and really locking that in and driving it home. And I think that this is also something teams will always want to have conversations about to make sure that where the areas that you're doing well in are the areas that you would like to be doing well in, or areas that you would like to improve upon, understanding that and using these metrics to grow your audience in that direction, which will then have an indirect impact, hopefully, on revenue.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Next question is from the audience. When you first sign into RCI, how long does it take for data to show up? And Munish, I can actually take this one for us. Yeah. So essentially, when you implemented your NTG tags, 24 hours after that initial implementation, I would go into your Google Analytics and check the events report to ensure data is populating into the correct Google Analytics property and view. And then a week after the initial implementation, go into your Google Analytics again and check that events report to ensure that the populated data is within your expected ranges. But yeah, that I think covers it for how long it'll take. So not too long.
And one thing I'll quickly touch on as well is that once that data starts to populate in RCI, it literally starts to populate right away as soon as you select your account and populate the data in RCI.
Awesome. All right, the next question from our audience: is there any platform data in RCI, such as desktop versus mobile or website versus OTT for video?
So there is platform information for desktop versus mobile. So in the breakdown of real-time article performance, as well as real-time video performance, we'll show you where users are coming from. So when you click into an individual article or click into the individual video, you'll see that breakdown. And you also will see it across your site as well in the dashboard that I showed you on the very right.
Awesome. Thanks, Munish.
No
does adding all of these tags impact speed of the site?
So I think the short answer is minimal. You absolutely want to think about everything you're implementing on your site and the impact it can have on speed and performance. That being said, we have run tests with these tags, and we know that has a minimal impact, but definitely always weigh the cost benefit associated with performance and speed is my advice there.
Yeah,
a great question. And I'm glad you're thinking about whoever asked this.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Always something to think about. And then for our next question, Munish, how often do you think that our publishers should be using or engaging with RCI?
I think that's a great question as well. I mean, RCI is essentially is a tool that's been built to use constantly, to have it up in the background so you understand what's happening across your publication at all times, and also to ensure that your newsroom and your editorial staff are all on the same page. So my short answer would be to have it up all the time as long as it's bringing you value.
Right. Great question. And then for our next question, do you have to implement the tag on a page-by-page or post-by-post basis, or can it go onto the master page and populate from there?
So I'm actually not 100% on this answer. I believe it's actually on a page-by-page basis, But that's something that we can actually follow up on, unless Nicole, unless you have the answer to that.
Yeah, I was going to say that it depends on like what you're looking to implement and where. And so it's something that we might have to just dial down a little bit more. And we're happy to follow up with that. I would say that we'll be able to find all of those answers as well in our NTG playbook, but we're happy to connect offline so that we can make sure we direct you in the right area. You can't use it on an iPad. Is that coming soon for us?
So unfortunately, it is not. We've been finding that this experience that we've built is best on desktop. So we do recommend that you do use it on your desktop.
Thanks for clarifying. Our next question, how do you get unmute rates?
So unmute rates are obtained with NTG. So that is something that we're tracking with NTG for video. So if you have NTG for video implemented, you can see the unmute rates in Google Analytics, and then we also will pull that data into RCI as well. So you'd see it in both places.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Munish. And then looking at our next question from the audience. We have a lot of questions today. This is great.
It's great. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we really appreciate the engagement. But looking at probably the next question, if we still have some left, but Gigi, let us know if we've maxed out all of our questions. Yeah, we'll just give her a moment here to post that in.
Awesome. So there's a question that did come up is, what is the main difference between GA and RCI? So I think that's a great question. So the way I look at it is Google Analytics has a ton of awesome data, but sometimes it can be hard to use as a publisher. You don't necessarily know what to track, which is what we're trying to solve with NTG. And then with RCI, what we're really trying to bubble up is metrics that are specific to publishers, right? To ensure that we're really prioritizing those metrics, and we're hopefully showing you a way to really drive insights from that data. So it really comes down to simplifying the views of what you're seeing in GA and really trying to provide you with more information. So that would be the key difference there. And of course, one thing I should also, thank you. And one thing I should also just reiterate is with RCI, it's very much so focused on real-time data and what is happening throughout the day on your site, with the exception of the historic performance section. So that's the other key differentiator there.
And not that this was necessarily asked for this specific question, but I think it might be beneficial as well, just to point out that with GA as well, in correlation to our other tool, News Consumer Insights, it's kind of the same thing there, where it's pulling all of those insights into an easier formatted way to digest the information or data based off of the teams that you're working with, and helping them understand what's also going on within your account.
Absolutely. That's a good point.
Awesome. Are you using a benchmark for the red and green indicators?
Great question. And actually, if you attended our NCI session, you'd see that we talked a little bit about benchmarks and how that's used. In the case of RCI, we're not using a benchmark. What we're doing is comparing your metrics to the average of your site to indicate if it's doing better or worse than the average. So that's where you'll see the green and red indicators. So there isn't benchmark data being used for that. It's just your site data.
Good to know. Awesome. Thank you. Does this affect our current GA contract in terms of hit costs?
So
yeah, go ahead, Munish.
Oh,
no, go ahead.
So yes, it can have an impact. So that's something to keep in mind as well, is the number of events you're tracking. There are limitations in place depending on what your contract looks like. So that's something that you should definitely keep in mind as you are implementing NTG. So one of the things I would think about is, of the specific metrics, which ones do you want to prioritize if you do not believe you can implement everything? Yeah,
and just to add on to that, if you're nervous about knowing your limit, or if you're close to that meeting, if you're close to meeting the data limit, a warning will appear on your Google Analytics interface, letting you know that you may be close to hitting that limit. Awesome. How is the affiliate click rate determined?
That is also a great question. So that is something that we are tracking with events within NTG. So if you have NTG implemented for your affiliate clicks, we will pull that information into RCI and then be able to associate that with the individual article. And that's what feeds into the engagement metrics that we're looking at and the content engagement ranking that we're also looking at as well.
Is there a preferred implementation type? Is one more efficient than another? AMP, gtag.js, is one faster?
You know what? I actually don't have an answer to that question. So I would not want to provide a recommendation here, Nicole, unless you have a recommendation you want to provide.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily feel comfortable providing a recommendation here. Of course, we're willing to have a deeper conversation to get a better, more holistic understanding of your account. But I think without that, it would not be easy for us to suggest one over another. When content changes are made to a page, does RCI automatically note those changes, or is there a refresh mechanism that has to be completed manually?
So the RCI does automatically refresh every 180 seconds if you turn refresh on, which is the top button at the very top right. So if that content is being consumed in real time, you will see that populate in the tool. The same thing goes for historic content. So if we're looking at your engagement metrics and we're trying to understand which of your articles are driving the most engagement, we will pull in those articles as well, as long as they sit within your top 100. So as I said before, we're looking at your top 100 articles by page view. So it has to sit within that requirement for it to be included in your historic performance section.
Awesome. Is there any integration with revenue metrics, ad impressions, etc.?
So not within RCI, but if you go back to our NCI session, you'll see how we do integrate that information and how it is associated with driving engagement as well.
Yes. Look at the NCI tool. You'll see me again.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then for our next question, if we have some, I know that we still have a lot coming in, which is great. So
amazing.
Awesome. Is the data available across regions?
Yes, it is. So this is a global tool. It's available for everybody to use, both on NTG as well as RCI. You may notice that the tool is not in different languages yet. It is only in English at the moment. That is changing over the coming weeks and the coming months. So we will have a lot more language availability as well. But yes, the tool is completely available across all regions.
Awesome. Thanks for clarification. And we'll continue to follow up if there are languages added and when they're added so that everyone also knows that information. Can RCI be shared as a single link among an edit team, or would we need each writer to sign up?
That's a great question as well. So once you've populated the tool with your account, you'll notice that the URL actually starts to change. And that's because we are actually creating a shortcut with that URL. So you could send that URL across your team. And if they were to just input that URL into the browser, it would populate with the data automatically. The caveat to that is whoever you're sending it to has to have access to the data as well. So they have to be logged into an account associated with the Google Analytics account, and it will populate with the data.
Awesome. Great question. And then for our next question from the audience, let's see what it is. Oh, unless...
I think we're done with questions.
Oh, we're done with questions. Look at that. That was wonderful.
Thanks, Munish and Nicole, for answering all of those. And thanks, everybody, for submitting so many really great questions. I think there was a lot of good Q&A there and hopefully cleared up a lot of questions for the audience. So thank you both for answering those, and thanks everybody for asking. We're reaching the end of our time today, but I wanted to thank you all for that great content. And for those of you watching, if you do have additional questions, feel free to reach out to your account manager. You can also refer to the playbook, which is linked on this page, or you can come back and watch this training at any time. It's available at the same link. Or you can watch other trainings as well as our NCI one on publishersonair.withgoogle.com. That concludes today's training. Thanks again for joining. Please leave any feedback on this session in the feedback form. You should see it to the right of your video player. And have a great rest of your day and stay safe. Thanks again, Munish and Nicole.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.